And I still commute to LA to this day quite often, but Sacramento was just it for me. It was just,
Yeah.
yeah.
By this time, then, wasn't Jay King with Club Nouveau and
Yes.
Timex in
Yeah.
Sacramento? So didn't you
Yeah.
then think, oh, okay, we've got the big number one record coming out of Sacramento and stuff like, oh, oh,
Yeah. Jay King once Jay King was one of those guys that was under the leadership, the mentorship. He idolized, we all idolized Robert Brookins. Robert Brookins was the guy. But then
okay.
Jay King, you talk about a guy that believes in faith, what he did with his career was
I've interviewed him
phenomenal.
for an hour and a half, and
Yeah,
he's
it
one of
was
my. He's very a straight
phenomenal.
shoot talker and stuff. He
Yeah,
knows.
absolutely. So yeah, so when he hit with rumors, it was just it made you proud to be a part of the city because you're talking about an independent record that was the biggest record in the world and
I was
the
in
biggest.
Nigeria, and it was a massive record. And I tell people that sometimes you think how big it is in America, and I'm thinking, but we're in Nigeria in the '80s without internet, so if a
Yeah.
song can cross globally, it was massive.
Yes, it was. It was very massive, man. So no, Jay made everybody proud, and um, Jay took a liking to me at an early age, and he's
Okay.
been my brother ever since, man.
So then, but by the time, yeah, by the time all that was happening, and then Foster McLaren, when they split up and started you get the Tonys coming out of the Bay
Yeah.
Area, and then you had En
So
Vogue and stuff. Did you then think, okay, because you said is that when you relocated back to Sacramento, or
pretty
did
much, pretty much. Yeah, I relocated during those times. During that time, I think I think actually I relocated my life. I was still commuting, but when I was playing with Shalimar towards the end of Shalimar, I had relocated because it just was the thing for me to do. And then after that, it didn't last long because I got called to play with Troop.
ah,
So I toured with Troop after Shalimar. And what was cool about playing with Troop, that brought me and my best friend Flip back together
how
because
so?
we were playing back with Troop together. We both auditioned for that gig at the same time, and we ended up getting that was on their first album with Mamacita and My Heart and all that stuff. So, and that was a fun gig, man. Playing with those guys was just incredible.
So
That was
yeah, yeah, I've spent time with John, and he's a regular.
good.
He supports the interviews I do and stuff. And when True came out, I remember being in Nigeria, we were saying that they were dancers who could sing because we were so mesmerized by how well they dance and the
Oh,
fact that they could sing, and there was no one else doing that. I mean, as much as we laud New Edition were very good with this whole Motown, the steps, but Troop were just blew our mind, and they were doing it live, and especially if you see their shows on Arsenio Hall. So, as a band supporting Troop, it must have been high energy. Just watching the shows must have been unreal. I mean, what was it like?
yes. Oh, one thing about when Troop came out, what separated them to me from New Edition is they dance real hard. They dance so hard, man. And what I mean by that, everything they did, every accent to I mean, they were hard on the band. I mean, we would have to
Wow.
hit everything was just it's almost like Janet when she came out with Rhythm Nation.
Mhm.
Janet was dancing real hard. I mean, they were like hard dancers, from the popping to the locking, and the energy was New Edition became really New Edition as they got older at the time were dope, but they were polished, they were more finesse dancers.
Mm,
Troop, they were street dancers and they
mm,
danced real hard, man. And the energy was electrifying. And you're right, all of them could sing like incredibly. They all were great singers. John, Allen, Reggie, Steve, Rodney. I mean, those boys were just incredible, at that time to be so young. And they
mm.
were really, really hungry. They were hungry to show the world
Wow.
that see, the first album was like, Mamacita was a big hit, but that first album was the introduction to say, who are these dudes? But then when they came with the second and the follow-up albums, it was over with. They had mega hit records. So, yeah, I mean, they were really, and they had a funky edge because they were produced by Chucky Booker. And so when you had like songs like,
okay,
well, even before Spread My Wings, Chucky on the first album did, I'll never forget, man, when I joined the band, they gave me a copy of the album and they said, yo, Derek, you gotta listen to a song called My Heart. I'm like, cool. So I'm listening to this song called My Heart, and I'm like, all right, who's playing bass on this record? And they were like, man, that's Chucky Booker. You don't know him? I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, well, hold up. I said, no, I don't. But y'all expect me to play that? I said, y'all crazy. Man, it was so funky, man. It was just incredible. And that's when I got introduced to who this young dude named Chucky Booker was, because not only was he playing bass, but he's playing all the instruments on the record. And that blew me away. So, and that song was funky. So every inch of how funky that record was, their dance moves was just as funky and just as hard driven.
Wow.
That's the kind of energy they put in what they did. Plus, I got to be honest with you, man. I'll say this to you. I toured about 30 years of my life. About 30 years. That was the most fun I've ever had on a tour, was with Troop.
Wow.
And it was the most fun I've ever had and the less money I've ever had. But it's the most fun I've ever had on any tour I've ever been on. I really enjoyed being with them dudes. I had the time of my life with them guys. I've never had that much fun on a tour with anybody. I mean, I've enjoyed my life, tremendously. And I got great relationships from it. But that tour was one of my first. We were getting paid peanuts, but I had the most fun touring with Troop. That was the most fun I've ever had on a tour. And we had one bus that slept six that was holding about 17 to 18 people.
But Flip was with you as well. That was
with me, my best friend, my brother was with me. And then all those guys just became my little brothers, man. And to this day, I love them to death, man. Love them to death. And I'm proud because they're making a real big comeback right now.
Yeah. So, I'm sure John's just going to watch this. But then it's strange that you say this, because I know you've toured with Lionel Richie for more than 7 years. You've done the Ribbon Nation. You've Time, Bobby Brown, TLC, Karyn White. But was it because it was your first major ones, or was it just because they were hungry, or what was that?
I think all of that. I think all of that, man. I think because we was really hungry. At that time, it wasn't about the money. As I got older in my career, when your goes, then you want to make sure your money is good because you have a certain lifestyle. So yes, a lot of when I got older, the gigs was about making sure my money was right.
Yeah.
This gig, man, it was my first one. This is what y'all making? Cool. This is what your per diem is, even cooler. This is where y'all gonna be staying. Y'all ain't staying little Keith Sweat and them staying at. Y'all staying in the generic motels. They ain't got no things, just got a white thing that says motel. You know what I'm saying? But man, I'm telling you, just we had because we was opening act and we was kicking a lot of ass. Those boys were second to none, man.
Who was headliners then? If they were just opening,
we were opening up. We were on tour like with Keith Sweat, Rob Bass, Kid and Play, just a lot of during that time. We were doing dates like that, and then we did our own shows.
Okay.
Then we were doing our own shows. Then we would do a lot of the festivals.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? But man, it was just the most fun that I ever had just on any tour in my life. Just irregardless of the circumstances. I remember one time the bus broke down on us, and we were somewhere. I can't remember, But but we just had so much fun, man. They had a phenomenal band. Christopher Shoy was the musical director, and my boy Romeo was playing guitar. A keyboard player named Greg, I can think of his last name. This was a phenomenal band, man. It was just my boy Flip on drums.
Wow.
It was just a great, great time, man. It was just one. And when me and Steve hook up, oh my gosh, man, the stories. I ain't gonna go there because Steve wouldn't want to be my roommate from time to time.
Wow.
You know? And so Steve used to be my roommate. When I tell you a nut from hell, oh my gosh, he was something else, man.
Big Michael Jackson fan.
Oh, big Michael Jackson fan. Big Mike. But that was the most fun, man, that I've ever had on any tour that I've ever been with Troop. No doubt.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, why don't you consider being a member? That's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a lot of videos ahead of time, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and some exclusive content that doesn't get shared. But anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of Halftime Chat.